Good morning. I'm Abeezer. I lead the healthcare business at MC10. So MC10 specifically focuses on partnering with pharma, CRO, and medical device partners. We're going to talk today about wearable biosensing technology and analytics specifically for clinical trials. So MC10 today works with 8 of the top 15 pharmaceutical companies in the world, and hopefully I can share with you some learnings today. One of the ones I can talk about publicly is our partnership with Pfizer. So Pfizer has their initiative Project Blue Sky, where they partner with IBM effectively to leverage bio-wearable sensors and analytics in a phase 3 Parkinson's clinical trial. And we can talk a little bit more about that in the panel session. So the semiconductor microprocessor, it came out about over 50 years ago, has fundamentally transformed how we live our lives. So our mission at MC10 is how do you take the power of a microprocessor and turn that into a bendable, stretchable, conformable system that adheres to the human body. So let's take the iconic iPhone launch almost 10 years ago now. It was heralded as the epitome of design. But at the end of the day, the iPhone is still solid, rigid, and boxy. And the reason why is because everything in here is solid, rigid, and boxy, which makes for a fundamental modular mismatch with the human body. So where does that leave us? That leaves us with clunky devices such as these. So from the audience, how many of you own a Fitbit, Jawbone, fitness tracker of any sort? Okay, a good chunk. Now, I have a better question. How many of you actually still wear your Fitbit, Jawbone, or fitness tracker of any sort? So the hands go tremendously down. I think that is very in line with the global norms. I think the statistics are within 3 months, 30% end up in your front drawer. And at 6 months, it's the majority of these devices. Now, at the end of the day, these are good technologies, for A, folks who kind of want to make a statement to the world, B, for the 20 to 60-year-old worried well. But what if you're a patient with a chronic disease and need to discreetly monitor your health? Or what if you're a patient who needs a more medically validated device to monitor your health? What are you left with? You're oftentimes left with devices such as these. So research-grade devices. So many of these devices are validated, but as you know, they can be much more cumbersome, obtrusive, and clunky than their consumer counterparts. At the end of the day, patients don't want to wear a sick badge. So at MC10, we have our Biostamp wearable sensor. It's flexible, conformable, but if you look on the other side, it effectively is a mini computer. On here, you have a microprocessor. You have different sensing modalities, specifically accelerometer, gyroscope, ECG, and surface EMG. You have flash memory to capture the data. You have Bluetooth low energy to send it to a smart device up to the cloud, and you have a polylithium rechargeable battery. Now, candidly, nothing I just mentioned is that revolutionary. What's revolutionary is you can do everything I mentioned in this wild of a form factor. So what does this form factor really allow you to do? It allows you to place this device virtually anywhere on the body, meaning lets you place it where you need to place the device. So you take that aspect, plus the fact that it's tightly skin coupled, plus the fact that you can have multiple sensors that are time synced, gives you 2 key benefits for a clinical research market. A, you get more accurate data. So let's pick on Parkinson's for a second, and the Parkinson's shuffle. Is a clunky device on the wrist really going to give you the best insights that you need, or perhaps you need a sensor on your lower extremities? The second big advantage is it gives you novel metrics that you weren't able to measure before. Let's take the broad area of motion, gait, and balance. Again, is a device on the wrist going to provide you that, or do you perhaps need a device on your core and one on your quad to correlate? I'm actually wearing multiple sensors on my body. I won't tell you where. And the third is because the device is so discreet and, again, comfortable, the feedback we get back from patients and physicians is the compliance goes tremendously high. And again, at the end of the day, folks, patients don't want to wear a sick badge. So we've been talking a bit about sexy technology, arguably importantly, if not more important than the hardware, is the software aspect to that, and the analytics and the actual insights to actually provide a clinical researcher. So from MC10's perspective, it's important to us to provide a full end-to-end solution. And what does end-to-end mean? For some partners, we provide an MC10 dashboard where they can visually see the algorithms, the analytics, real time. For others, and actually for Novartis, more likely a better fit would be an API, where you can actually pull that data, whether it be the analytics or the raw data, into your own clinical development platforms that exist today. So now let's dive deeper into the clinical trial realm specifically. So these are all pain points I'm sure all of you can empathize with. So again, the clinical trial process is something you all know well. Every 2 to 4 weeks, a patient comes into a PI's office for X hours, and then they go home. So what happens after that? After that, you're often left with these. Again, something you all probably recognize. Subjective patient-reported diaries. Now, for a clinical researcher, what if you could replace this instead with a dashboard that provides something like this? Provides, again, objective, real-world, real-life data outside of a clinic environment. Both not only a snapshot, but a longitudinal picture of what's actually going on in that patient's life. Now, this is where it gets exciting, because this is where you can get into novel digital endpoints, novel digital biomarkers. I know Christine is working very closely on strategies on how to build that up for Novartis. Jeremy Sohn has done quite a bit of work in the past, doing some really good work in the digital endpoint space. And the promise of this digital endpoint is the goal that effectively you can get a better measure of the efficacy of a medication, better than a clinic-based, archaic, decades-old endpoints and scales that you have existing today. So what does that actually mean for a Novartis or another pharma company? The beauty of a digital endpoint is, if designed correctly, should shorten trial size, shorten trial duration, and arguably, most importantly, when you get to that junction of deciding whether to go to a phase 2 or phase 3 study phase, how do you actually leverage, how do you actually come to a go, no-go decision much more expediently and confidently? One of the last things I want to touch on is the validation and the criticalness of validation. So from MC10's perspective, validation, if you're going to play in the regulated space, is fundamental. So what we do is we actually run not only from I know validation is a very loaded word, so I'll use it lightly in this audience, not only from a clinical perspective, but also from a regulatory perspective. So from a clinical perspective, we leverage our Biosensing Systems on a myriad of disease patient populations. So for example, here you see an example of a sleep study we've done at Mass General Hospital. Again, testing against the gold standard, which is polysomnography. We've also conducted MS studies with 50 patients at University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. We've done a cardiology study at another academic institution in Boston with leading EP cardiologists, as well as some of you might know Dr. Ray Dorsey, working with him on a Parkinson's and Huntington's study as well. So again, validation, I can't underscore the importance of that. And just to end off, I'd encourage you guys to really just dive in. So this is really early days for digital health in pharma. And candidly, I can tell you just by working across the spectrum, it's not the fast followers who will win. It is the ones who get their feet wet and build a foundation of learnings and then create your strategy on top of that. And again, working across the top 20 pharma companies, I can tell you digital health is not a new concept. It's on the mind of the leaders and executives of all of these companies. The area I see that actually differentiates the ones that are doing an okay job to the ones who are really leading the pack is dedication of resources from the leadership and from the top. And specifically, what are resources specifically? Money, funding, and FTEs. And putting those in a strategic framework to actually build upon and make action, not only create the strategy, but then execute on that strategy equally importantly. So with that, I'd like to, again, invite you guys to dive in, and happy innovating. Thank you, guys.